the other people who spoke about safety. On our street, Vallejo, we hourly see them going up and down the street, often close to clipping the trees, which, aren't that far above our homes. They turn around and they fly back to the airport, and they're literally flying right down the street, right down to Vallejo, like it's a runway. And I'm really surprised there aren't more people here who aren't freaked out at the low altitude that they fly. It just doesn't seem like it's realized that it's a huge issue. The noise is crazy. It's like a war zone at times, and just with the frequency and the noise of the airplanes themselves. I don't know much about how they work or if they have a muffler or anything, but they're damn loud. And it's very disturbing to be out hanging Christmas lights and have to hear a plane every 30 to 60 seconds repetitively. It's just not right. And the people need to be considered, safety and the quality of life for people in town. So please do something and welcome more people to be on the board that aren't pilots. You guys really put a lot of time and service and do a great job at most things, but there needs to be more regard for everybody involved. So thank you.
Thank you. We're getting it right now. Do we have anyone else that called to the public? All righty. Thank you very much. Moving on to our next item on the agenda, informational reports and updates. Mr. Probst.
Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. Talk about the fuel island. The fuel island, we let the tank go down to about 700 gallons so we could have a camera inspect it to ensure that it was clean and didn't need any repairs. That was done in the early part of November. We took 7,000 gallons shortly after that. The tank was found to have no discrepancies. It was clean. And in November, in about 3 weeks, we sold nearly 2,000 gallons of avgas. So it's moving along. Since Mr. Potter is not around, I'm doing the fuel checks, which is something I haven't done for years. So it's kind of fun to do something that is different. Speaking of the fuel island, the QT pod is the computer device that reads the credit cards and allows aircraft to be fueled and for that fuel to be paid for. The server is going out of service Friday at 6 p.m. and it will come back on the next day at 9. And we posted this flyer on the QT pod itself. So we just got this information yesterday. So as was mentioned earlier, both the chair and the vice chair's terms are up this month. The city intends to seek applicants to fill those positions. It's a full 3-year term. And of course, these are volunteer positions that are not paid. City staff is recommending that amendments to the municipal code, chapter 2.100, which is for the airport commission, be updated regarding composition and duties, and that agenda item will be addressed under old business later on in the meeting. So I have a presentation about a tour that was conducted at Embry-Riddle, and my IT man, the infamous Mr. Bigelow, is going to do that.
Good evening, Chairman, Vice Chair, Ryan Bigelow, Director of Strategic Initiatives. Recently in November, had the chance to do a tour of Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University with the mayor and several city council members, a couple of members of staff. It was an interesting tour. I'm not necessarily an aviation expert by any means, so I got to sneak behind the curtain a little bit and learn about their operations. A couple of things that I did take away that I think are important to address here tonight. Just the importance for pilots to follow instructions there. Obviously, being a pilot is a complex task, and so if Embry-Riddle puts out instructions for their pilots to follow, the expectation is pretty high that they follow those. I'm not one to hold them accountable, but I do know that they're doing their best to hold their pilots to a strict standard. We talked about the recommended flight path to and from Embry-Riddle University. That's something that Vice Chair Wade has mentioned. I did bring that up in conversation with the Chancellor. He noted that he was under the impression that most of the students were doing that. I let him know that they were not doing that at the time. So we've been able since to try to address that and give them the times and pictures of the folks who aren't following that flight path, and hopefully they can make that adjustment. They let us know that Embry-Riddle is looking to hire a public information officer. Admittedly, that's not going as quickly as they would like, but somebody who's a little bit more visible, a little bit more able to interact with the public a little bit. So that is on the horizon. They also talked about they're hopeful, and I know this has been talked about for a long time, but they're in the process and getting very serious about purchasing some land for an Embry-Riddle specific airstrip. So want to be clear, and then we did present this question that does increase the capacity for Embry-Riddle, and it could create flexibility, but I would not expect that to eliminate the use of the Cottonwood Airport. Those were the primary takeaways that I had from the visit, and happy to take any questions. Mr. Sutton.
You made a comment, will not eliminate use of Cottonwood. Will it decrease any?
So the conversation we had,
Will it make
the conversation we had is could provide some flexibility, right? So if there's less demand, then there could be more flexibility, as they're aware that of the noise issues over here, that could create some opportunities to have some different days, times, things like that. But we were not weren't given any promises, and most likely won't be given any promises.
Who exactly did you meet with at Embry-Riddle?
The gentleman giving us the tour was the chancellor of the university, and then a couple of just their student volunteers.
Was there any discussion on the entry that I suggested, going over the TAPCO power plant and then coming into Cottonwood and avoiding Clarkdale and exiting the same way? Was there any discussion on how, if they didn't follow that procedure, we could try to remind them or correct that process?
Yeah, and so we did inform them that we would be informing them when that wasn't happening. So again, I'm not sure what their procedure is for accountability, but we've already sent them messages letting them know when that's not happening.
Any other questions? Thank
Thank you.
sir. Oh, and we do have the speaker from the floor on this item, Mary Lou Rose.
Thank you for letting me speak. My name is Mary Lou Rose, and I live in Clarkdale. The agenda language for the Embry-Riddle tour repeats Embry-Riddle's preferred narrative, state-of-the-art aircraft, full motion simulators, well-qualified graduates, and a highly structured academic program. These buzzwords sound impressive, and they're meant to be, but this description leaves out everything that actually affects the people who live beneath the training routes. A polished campus tour shows what Embry-Riddle wants the public to see. It does not show the low altitude circles, the chronic noise, the leaded aviation fuel, or the fact that operational promises made on April 2nd, 2025, including routing and altitudes, are not being followed. This agenda item tonight demonstrates how incomplete the official narrative still is. Cottonwood's memo highlights Embry-Riddle's fleet and academic program, but leaves out the fact that state-of-the-art aircraft are still burning leaded fuel. It praises a training structure, but does not mention the shift of repetitive training towards communities that never agreed to shoulder that burden. It describes dispatch centers and syllabus, but ignores the real-world impacts caused when these operations concentrate over Clarkdale because it's more convenient. It fails to mention that Embry-Riddle teaches her students to ignore the FAA advisory for avoiding noise-sensitive areas. And yes, we know it's voluntary. If the goal of this agenda item tonight is to inform the public, then the commission deserves and residents deserve a full picture, not a brochure. So I'm asking for a follow-up that addresses the parts that the tour did not show. A clear accounting of routing and altitude compliance, especially in Clarkdale's area. Bird tower data broken down by operator because the majority of this traffic is not Cottonwood based. And a public session where operators are required to answer questions directly, not through polished presentations. Those of us speaking tonight are living these impacts. I'm speaking about the missing information and missing accountability. Cottonwood has the opportunity to produce a complete, honest report, not just a flattering summary. Residents need transparency, not marketing language. Cottonwood does not work for Embry-Riddle. The airport manager is not employed by Embry-Riddle. The city manager is not employed by Embry-Riddle. And I think it would be helpful to remember that. Thank you.
Ask you if you had the opportunity to discuss with the, I guess is it a president when we read that you took the tour?
I did not go on this tour. The mayor, several council members and staff went on this tour. This agenda item is simply a presentation of what they saw. It isn't a report on anything else that might have been previously mentioned. It's not a marketing ploy. It simply is what happened when they went over there. I didn't go. I've met with the chancellor several times, along with the mayor of Clarkdale, the mayor of Cottonwood, Supervisor Nikki Check, and met with Dr. Witcher 3 times so far, and intend to meet with him again next month. So,
have you had the opportunity to bring up, yes, about the use of noise reduction propeller, noise reduction Blackbird?
I have indeed talked to Dr. Witcher about that. They apparently tried that in Daytona Beach, and the different muffler that was not standard caused the engines to have a lesser life cycle. That was his answer.
Anything about the propeller?
Excuse
No.
me, Commissioner Sutton, you have to speak into your mic.
Thank you, Chair. We want to make sure we stay on topic. Thank you very much, Mr. Sutton.
Okay. Moving along to the next item on the agenda, the airport manager's report. Mr. Probst.
Mr. Chair, we're going to talk about November's Vert Tower data, the capital projects update, and noise complaints. So November was a month of less operations, primarily, I believe, due to weather and the holiday. We are still 8% above last year's operations tempo and about 4,000 operations ahead. We're 1,600 operations shy of the calendar year 24 total. And so it's been a busy year. However, November was not particularly a busy month. 97% of all the traffic was visiting traffic as opposed to base traffic. Out of the total operations count, 69% of the total were Embry-Riddle training aircraft, primarily doing touch and goes. There's probably some full stop taxi backs, but 69% of the operations were conducted by Embry-Riddle. Busiest days were last month, Friday and Saturday. Busiest hours were mid-morning and mid-afternoon. And most of the 2.5 times of the takeoffs were to the north because the prevailing wind was out of the north where it was calm. So pretty standard from what we saw last month, other than the time of day and the days. I'd be happy to answer questions about that. Okay.
Thank you.
We're still working diligently on moving the windsock. That project will kick off next week with some underground boring under the approach end of runway 14, so we can put conduit in the ground and start that project. They have ordered the replacement windsock and segmented circuit. I think I told you last time that pre-construction meeting for the reels, PAPIs, and guidance signs was done at the end of October. This is a two ADOT grants, and this project will run concurrently with the windsock project. So there'll be a lot of underground work and then removing the old windsock along with installing the reels and the PAPIs. The current reels and PAPIs are out of service, which it's been notammed as out of service. You have to answer a question on those two projects. Dibble Engineering is still on call to do the engineering design work for the removal of obstructions at the airport, to include the hill, if you will, that the current windsock is on and will be removed. And we've already received a state grant for that. Kimberly Horn, which was the on-call planning firm until Kaufman Associates was hired, finished up a little bit of work where they identified what they believed were the obstructions affecting the airfield. We talked about the repair, reconstruction of the taxiway. We're working with the FAA. They intend to provide an AIP grant of close to $1 million, which will cover the initial drainage project in conjunction with the reconstruction. The actual reconstruction, I suspect, is 2 to 3 years off. Should be about a $4 million project when it's all done. As I mentioned before, and I talked to the commissioners about, the width will go from 50 feet to 35 feet in compliance with the airport design manual that was changed several years ago. So currently 50 and it'll go to 35. Be happy to answer questions about that.
On that, narrowing the taxiway, when will that occur? A year? How long is it?
Well, they don't have to say. The FAA Airport District Office in Phoenix doesn't have $4 million for the project. They have $1 million. And so the first thing to do is the drainage. I mean, the easiest part of this entire project is putting the asphalt down. It's a complete reconstruction, which means they'll grind off the asphalt. They will dig out the subgrade and base, put new subgrade and base in, and then repave it along with the electrical work for the LED taxiway lighting. As you know, there's no taxiway lighting out there. So it's a big project. And I think it's got fairly high priority with the FAA. But I don't think we'll see new asphalt for 2 to 3 years.
Well, I would hope it'll be maybe 5 years. On the drainage.
Mhm.
Would you make sure that that study and people who do that are connected to the current issues that we have with flooding in Cottonwood?
They are. I mean, Dibble Engineering has already done the engineering design work for this. So they're very well aware of the issues. And I've taken the project manager out and showed him Mr. Potter's non-engineered stamp fix for one of the ditches that drains towards that taxiway, which seems to be working fine without an engineer stamp.
Just want to make sure that they're talking to people in the city that are addressing those issues right now. I would hope they would do that rather than just put together a report and talk to themselves.
I think, first of all, the engineered design plans were done before I got here. My understanding is they've talked to our public works people about drainage, because as you well know, the drains from west to east, and I can't 100% say they did, but I'm pretty sure they did.
Confirm that.
I can. I've read the plans, and there's a significant amount of it that has to do with drainage. Any other questions about that one?
Thank you very much, sir. Moving along to old business.
We need to do the noise complaints. I have more noise complaints now. I'd be happy to skip that, by the way.
Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead, sir.
16 voicemail complaints. 7 of those were repeat calls, 6 Clarkdale, 5 Cottonwood, 4 Verde Village, and 1 gave no location. 26 email complaints that come to the airport noise at Cottonwood AZ and also to my email. Out of that 26, 16 were repeats, 20 from Clarkdale, 2 from Cottonwood, 3 from Verde Village, and 1 from Cornville. Apparently, Embry-Riddle has a practice area out over Cornville. So I was pleased to see that no Embry-Riddle aircraft were here before 7 in the morning. There was none after 7 at night. Yeah, I can answer questions about that. Okay.
Moving along to old business tonight, we do have a speaker from the floor, Perla Erickson.
Let me pitch this to the commission first, and then
I'm sorry.
we had this agenda item at your last meeting. There was some significant confusion about what the proposal was and what's currently in the code. So if you go back, the commission's been around, at least we believe, since 2007. I think the chair thinks 2005. I wasn't here, and neither was the clerk. So it really is about advising the city council. The current code doesn't speak at all to the airport manager. The chapter in the municipal code is chapter 2.100. And we know that noise has been an issue. And so staff is proposing that the commission remain at 5 commissioners instead of 4 aviation or tenants. That be reduced to 3, of which 2 need to live within the city limits. The 2 additional commissioners would represent the general public, and they would need to live in the city limits. And add to the duties language addressing noise complaints. That's the proposal from staff. So the commission tonight is being asked to either approve that and forward it to city council, or change it and forward what the commission would like to see going to city council. And I'd be happy to answer questions or sit down.
I have a, item that might clarify the terms of office. It's terms of office is the 3rd paragraph down, which is 2.100.030. The first sentence is the term of the members shall be for 3 years on a staggering basis. Everything after the word years in the rest of that paragraph only applied to the very first meeting that was ever in the commission, and everything else beyond that, rest of the paragraph. It's just confusing the people in there.
Thank you.
I'm done, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. We have a speaker from the floor, Ms. Carla Erickson.
You very much. I'm sure you get tired of seeing the same people here all the time, but I can tell you one of the reasons is a lot of this isn't, I happen to be the president of the HOA of Mountain Gate. I have a lot of people that come to me. They've lost faith. They've lost faith in their leaders of their government. They've lost faith with this commission, with the airport manager. Their voices need to be heard, but they said no one listens to us. They don't understand and nothing will happen. So that's probably why you always see the same people here, because we don't want to give up. It's very important to us. We live here. We value our homes here. We value Clarkdale and Cottonwood. So that's probably why I just don't see anybody. But I know when we talked about this last week, the 21, the changes, Mr. Probst had brought it up. He brought the changes up, and also staff spent the time in making recommendations. And from the meeting here, there's only 3 commissioners here, and the other 2 were absent, which I thought a vote probably shouldn't have been taken, but you had a quorum because you didn't vote on changing the meeting times, but you thought, and like to me, this was a much more important issue. This commission impacts not just Cottonwood. Now, when you talk about the Cottonwood City Council and the mayor, they are working Cottonwood. They're dealing with issues in Cottonwood. It's a Cottonwood related thing. This commission, it impacts all of Verde Valley. We're not talking about just pilots that live in Cottonwood. We're talking about residents of all of Verde Valley, and Clarkdale especially. We've been impacted the most. So to say you have to live in Cottonwood, extremely important that all citizens get a vote or be able to serve on the commission. You've got pilots from Clarkdale. You have pilots from Cornville. This airport commission impacts everybody. It's not just a Cottonwood thing. And to say you have to live in Cottonwood, it's really an injustice to everybody that lives in this whole community, because there are people that can help and impact changes that maybe we won't like them, but they could help. And since the other committees have been, put to the side, I just really think that you need to really consider people outside of Cottonwood. This isn't just a Cottonwood business. It's an all of Verde Valley business. And it's really important to get everybody's votes. So, and ignoring what staff said, I think that's a really good idea either. That's what happened last time. Nobody wanted to change anything. So thank you.
All right, your old business will move along to item 2. Discussion of Cottonwood Airport Commission methods to address aircraft norms.
Mr. Chair, you need to either take some action to present back to the council or not. I mean,
2100.
Yeah.
I'm
Do you
sorry.
want to change it? Do you want to leave it the same? Do you want to do something different?
Okay.
But it demands some action.
Well, I don't have any difficulty with the changes, both distribution of 5 revisions. For that reason, I would go to approve the document that's been provided by the airport manager.
I think the document that's been submitted by staff at this meeting has clarified a lot of things that the computer messed up last month and presented to the commission. And I will say I agree with Commissioner Wood.
I agree with him also.
Here's a motion. I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed unanimously. Not unanimous. 3 out of 4.
3 out of 4. That recommendation will be passed back to the city council for their action.
Thank you very much.
All right, sir.
Now, discussion of Cottonwood Airport Commission methods to address aircraft noise.
So as we investigated the commission and their actions, there had been talk that there had been in 2018, 2019, a subcommittee formed to address noise. That appears to be in fact true. I wasn't here, but it was a very narrowly focused committee. And there was a work session that was done with the city council to put the noise action plan into place. Since I have been here since March, the commission has addressed aircraft operations and aircraft noise. Acting city manager sent a letter to the mayor of Clarkdale back in June that said we were not going to reinstate, we the city, were not going to reinstate the airport noise working group. October 21st, the Cottonwood City Council discussed the airport noise working group, aircraft noise, and essentially said this should go back to the airport commission for their action. During that meeting, Verde Valley Aviation Relief Organization was discussed, that they were in existence. They were a group that was focused on airport noise, aircraft noise, and the mayor of Cottonwood indicated she had met with them. I have met with them also. So this agenda item is for your action, what you as a commission would like to do to address airport noise, aircraft noise, from whatever your action would be. And this doesn't necessarily need to go back to the city council because of your action. If you decide to form a subcommittee with non-commission members, the attorney could probably tell you that group would be subject to the open meeting laws, agendas, taking of minutes, vetting members, and all of that. So it's sort of an open field for what the commission wants to do. I'd be happy to answer any other questions.
I have recommendations. You're kind of stealing a little bit on thunder. I did meet a couple of weeks ago with Laura Jones from Parkdale, and we talked about noise committees, some of the history of that. I have been a little contrary to some of the rest of the members on the board, because I supported the formation of a committee. Difficulty in putting together a subcommittee, of course, is that in talking with the city attorney, that committee would have to meet the open meeting laws, and it would become very difficult to function because the notifications you have to do, the minutes you have to do, and when you can talk and when you can't talk, so we have to go through. So in any case, I'm recommending that a committee be formed, but not part of the airport commission, be it a community committee. I would suggest that the numbers would be approximately 5 members that would be voted on by a collective group of individuals from the Verde Valley, be Clarkdale, Columbia, wherever. I would suggest 3 people. These are just my recommendations. 3 people come from Cottonwood, a couple from Clarkdale. Committee could probably break that up any way you like. I would suggest also that
the committee elected chairperson, and that the committee have meetings with the airport manager to realize and understand the rules and regulations that we are all under. For the most part, simply stated, all of the air above the ground in the United States is controlled by the federal government. We have very little control once that airplane leaves the ground. And that, with the community committee, they need to make sure they understand that, number one. Number two, I think they could begin discussing ways and means to try and reduce noise levels. And different kinds of alternatives. Some of them would be changes in the airport pattern, altitude, a variety of those kinds of issues. But there are multiple legal issues regarding what an airport can and cannot. And it's been going on for 100 years throughout the country with airports. The government controls it. And that's the way it's always going to be, because there have been some communities that at different points in time wanted to control its airspace above their community. And so you can imagine what it would be like flying an airliner across the United States. So all of that is very much regulated at this point in time. So I would recommend the committee be formed. It wouldn't be part of the airport commission. And I would suggest that they do that meeting, they invite speakers in. And I think when there are topics that come up, they need to request to be placed on the agenda of the airport commission. And then they can meet with the commission, and we can discuss and exchange ideas. And I think that would be an effective way to try to address it. To form a committee of 20 or 25 people, it's not going to work. It's confusing. And the committee is going to have to bring in issues that we can address. We can try to address a lot of issues, but some of them regarding the amount of lead in the air and things like that are really kind of beyond all of our capabilities. But I think the committee would be very effective, and I would suggest to the airport commission that recommend that. And I'd like also to have Laura maybe speak a little bit about the possible.
Chair, if I can just check real quick, that a little bit of clarification. A lot of what's been said about it is correct, having the public body, open meeting laws apply to it, but there is an exception in the open meeting law for a 3-member public body or a 3-member advisory committee that only has one, or that has no more than one person from the commission on it. So there is an exception there, which is a 3-member additional band.
Or Jonestown or Clarkdale. I agree with Mr. Wade that it was beneficial for the brief time we had it, and I do think it's beneficial, again, for there to be some type of committee that addresses noise issues regarding the airport. I think a 12-member committee was rather ambitious, and though we were successful and had a couple of good meetings, I think it was maybe a little unwieldy. So I am in favor of us doing this. And, I like the idea of it being less structured and being able to, though there will be some specific, maybe voted on members, that this is really a place for the community to come and be able to bring their concerns and to feel like there is not only somebody listening, but that there is potential action. Because I do want to remind everybody that we are here and have been here for all of these meetings discussing noise because there was specific action
taken by this commission and by the Council of Cottonwood. And I just want people to remember that. And so I think we should go into this knowing that there are actions that can be taken to help alleviate the issues that we're dealing with. And that this shouldn't just be a place for people to come and voice their complaints and feel good, but there maybe will nothing ever come out of it. So for those people who know me, I'm a pretty results-oriented person, and I believe that there are solutions for problems. And so I think if that is what we go into this with, to truly look for solutions to problems, that we can wind up with some success.
I agree. Thank you. I think organization would help, being organized.
Yeah.
And I think it would be very advantageous if the committee could be structured in such a way that people can go to that committee with issues, and it can be discussed and some approved, disapproved, and then the committee brings that to the commission. Here are the following points we discussed, like action or whatever. That way, it could bring a focus into noise abatement.
I agree. And I think that was the intention of the latest version of the noise commission.
I have recommended committee, and I don't know what the action that's required for that, but it's something that I believe Laura would try to get organized and pull something together and begin.
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah. I don't know if it is my official role to do that. I don't know the logistics from the city management perspective. So that's maybe a question for.
Maybe you could be the chair pro tem of this committee.
Right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Topic. Okay. As we're heading toward adjournment, I'd like to ask, does anybody have any items for a future agenda?
Sure, I agree. I have several items. One of them, I think, on the next agenda, we should put down on changing the meeting date, if that's gonna happen.
I think since this wasn't on the agenda, you can voice whatever you would like to the chair who sets the agenda, and I'm the admin gopher
Okay,
for it.
and
Since there is no agenda item for this, I will put it,
I understand why.
Yeah.
Hoping that these go on the agenda. I would like to see us meet with the economic development director to talk about, the possibility of what could be done with different parts of the airport land rights as far as development. We have a lot of people that want to move to Cottonwood, and we should try to accommodate that as best we can. And it's going to require economic development expertise. I'd like that on the agenda. The other item on the agenda would be, I understand last month, unfortunately, I'm not here, that the police department is going to do drones. I would like on the agenda how the city is going to manage those drones once they're in the air. Reading the minutes, I felt it was a little light as far as what was going to be done. Be good for the police chief to come back and discuss that. I would like a meeting set up with the chief life instructor at Emerald to discuss entry and exit patterns. Make sure we have his attention, his or her, and I'd like a brief update on the sand and rock gravel operation. The vegetable sand and gravel. And that's what I'd like to see on the next agenda.
Chair, if we go back to the commission on the advisory. No action taken. RCD to happen. I think the appropriate avenue to go is to seek consent from the city manager, assistance by city departments to form the advisory committee. That's within the powers of the board. It's actually in your code. You can seek the assistance of the city manager. So if you guys do want to pursue that, I think the action is to seek the assistance of the city manager to form an advisory.
If I understand you correctly, we need to address the city's involvement and the airport commission's involvement with the development of the committee.
If that is the commission's recommendation, or that's what their desire is to form an advisory committee.
We formalize them.
Okay,
Because you didn't take any action to form, you asked a citizen to put together a group that you have no association with, other than the chair could put them on the agenda at their request.
Yes.
And there was no, and that I, as airport manager, would be happy to meet with them, as I would with anybody else in the community. But that was all the city's involvement. And I'm not sure you didn't vote to do anything.
We did, but I believe we probably ought to formalize the fact that we're going to be working with the committee, with city staff, and with the airport commission.
We can certainly, with the chair and any of the commissioners, set up a meeting with the city manager to get his blessing.
Can I just say something? I do think it's important because I think part of the questioning that happened after the
Excuse
last.
me, Ms. Jones, you can't speak from the chair, unless the chairman calls you up.
I just want to say, I do think it is important to work with city management on this, because I think this was one of the issues of the last working group, is that it became very unclear how that group came to be and whether it was actually sanctioned and who, what. So I think it is important to make sure that this gets done in a proper manner.
Thank you.
so if I'm understanding correctly, Commissioner, would you like to come back on the next agenda about how to formally create an advisory board or committee, or do you want to take action now asking the city manager to be involved in creating that?
And we need to, the city manager, and bring him up to date on a committee that will be formed. And that the commission will be responding to that committee.
In that case, I think that the commission should take a motion, second vote on whether it should proceed.
I second your motion.
So there's a motion, second.
All, you heard the motion? You call for a vote? Yeah, yes, I sorry. Yes. Right. So.
One other item, I think it would be, my recommendation that this airport manager put together a certificate or some kind of plaque for Mr. Mooney, who's been on these commissions for like 20 years. He's been here 20 years and he's going off. And we probably ought to give him some kind of a perseverance award.
As I understand it, the city clerk is more than capable of doing that and would be happy to do that and present it at a commission meeting. It is the intention to, when we're, depending on what the city council does with the code on the commission, advertise for the 2 vacant spots. And it is my understanding that the chair, after a number of years, has opted probably not to reapply. It's true. It might make him run the January meeting now. Thanks, Mr. Vice Chair.
Your second? Second. All in favor? Aye.